Hamilton's guinea pig statement about George Russell. Mercedes needs to be more cautious when experimenting with the W13 setup, according to Lewis Hamilton. The British athlete, who for so long served as the team's test subject, is hoping to maintain the momentum after taking the podium in Canada. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we will be sharing all about Hamilton's guinea pig statement, how the strong have perished. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time Formula One champion, has now been out-qualified for 3 straight race weekends by George Russell, a rookie teammate for Mercedes. Lewis again lagged Russell in qualifying for the 2022 Grand Prix of Azerbaijan by more than 0.2 seconds. The W13 vehicle. Since 2014, the Silver Arrows have consistently been the fastest team in Formula One, but this year they have fallen behind and have been unable to contend for victories with Red Bull and Ferrari. The Brackley-based team's W13 vehicle has been plagued by porpoising issues for the bulk of the season, necessitating setup tests at every circuit in the first 9 races of the season to try to boost their challengers' performance. The latest generation of F1 cars has an aerodynamic flaw known as porpoising that causes them to rapidly bounce up and down at high speeds, sending strong stresses through the drivers' spines and forcing the drivers' heads to ricochet wildly back and forth. Struggles of Mercedes and Hamilton. This season, Mercedes has struggled mightily as the defending Constructors' Championship leader attempts to maximize the potential of their brand new W13. The team has had to experiment both during and after races due to this, and the elimination of porpoising, as Hamilton was dissatisfied with the handling of his vehicle during Friday's practices in Montreal. He had to quit a hot lap in the penultimate stretch of FP2 after complaining that his excessively stiff car was undrivable. The 7-time world champion afterward referred to the session as a disaster, adding that his car was just going worse. But 2 days later, after finishing third with teammate Russell P4 at the Canadian Grand Prix, he was back on the podium. Hamilton would want to see Russell take on more of the experimentation now that he has become used to life at Mercedes. Hamilton is enjoying himself out on the track for a change. Hamilton battling his way up. After the team made progress in Canada, Lewis Hamilton is hopeful Mercedes would scale back the number of tests they perform on his W13 car over Grand Prix weekends. Hamilton battled his way to a 3rd-place finish in a car he dubbed, quote, undrivable, during practice, returning to the podium for the first time since the season opening at Bahrain Grand Prix. He complained while the team was doing yet another test on his vehicle to increase performance. This season, Hamilton is frequently offered to serve as a test subject for Mercedes as they tried out new components on his car. These tests frequently left Hamilton lagging behind colleagues George Russell. Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The team apologized to Hamilton after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix when an aggressive setup caused him to experience back pain, so severe he struggled to exit the car after the race. Mercedes have experienced the issue more than the other 9 Formula One teams, and Hamilton has mostly participated in the more experimental setup tests since the start of the season. Russell and Mercedes. Hamilton is now hoping Russell can assist easing the pressure after battling with the setup of his car in free practice ahead of last weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, and ultimately finished 3rd. Russell has now led Mercedes' #1 driver by a score of 5-3 throughout 8 seasons, and he is currently 34 points ahead of Lewis in the standings for the Drivers' Championship. Russell asserted the following qualifying that the Mercedes W13 car was closer to the grid's starting positions than it was to the pole positions being recorded by the drivers of Ferrari and Red Bull. Even with 16 races remaining in the season, Lewis will face an uphill battle to overtake and surpass his teammate in the driver standings due to Mercedes' ongoing problems. Mercedes in 2022. Mercedes' 2022 Challenger has suffered greatly from porpoising and bouncing this year, which has left them wondering why. They have alternated between a car that bounces badly on some tracks and one that behaves itself on others. They hope that a series of experiments they have carried out on Hamilton's car may provide them with some answers as they continue their quest to learn more. The trials have occasionally made the car seem worse, but these adjustments will help them learn which directions they should go down rather than others. Russell in P4. The possibility exists that they have slowed down the pace as well, which might account for the 7-time champion Russell's 7 out qualifications in 2022. The British driver used more unusual parts last weekend in Canada, and even though they didn't appear to work at all during Friday practice, he nevertheless out-qualified Russell in P4 for the 4th time this season, and he went on to finish 3rd and earn his 2nd podium of the year. The 37-year-old joked that Russell should get the short straw in the second half of the year because he had serious back pain in Baku from a car that was constantly slamming into the track. Mercedes has frequently been in a position to take advantage of Ferrari and Red Bull's misfortune to claim podiums and top 4 results this season, but they have yet to seriously threaten them in terms of raw pace. Mercedes, Hamilton, and Russell. Between Hamilton and Russell, Mercedes has already earned 5 podium finishes this season, although the team is yet to place higher than 3rd. Wolff is frequently questioned by Paddock F1 media about why rookie George Russell is much outperforming his senior teammate in the same W13 vehicle. After the race in Imola, Wolff went above and beyond to justify Hamilton's lack of point-scoring effort, even though Russell had finished a respectable P4 after starting in 11th. Over pit radio following the checkered flag, the Mercedes boss said, quote, "Lewis, hi, sorry for what you have needed to drive today. I know this is undrivable," unquote. Given Russell's P4, this statement from the Mercedes team manager only fueled rumors that Hamilton was feeling so down that he needed encouragement from his crew. When questioned why Russell had been quicker than Lewis during the previous race weekends, Wolff was again defending Hamilton after Baku qualifying. Wolff advised that it is too early to try to spot a pattern because he is so near to it and can already tell that one session is faster than the next. Only because the team told George to give Lewis a tow when he was in danger of missing out on a final qualifying did Hamilton outperform Russell in Q2. Wolff's assertion that, quote, "one session, one is faster and the next session, the other is faster," regarding his drivers is complete nonsense in reality. Hamilton has only 5 of the last 19 F1 non-race practices on the track when he has finished ahead of Russell. Any glimmer of hope was dashed after a challenging qualifying session in Azerbaijan when George Russell shared his assessment of the Mercedes F1 car's actual level of competitiveness. Russell qualified 5th behind the Ferraris and Red Bulls, while Hamilton, a former world champion, qualified 7th. George was questioned by the media about if he might challenge the cars in front and perhaps place them on the podium. Surprisingly, the British driver replied that his team was closer to the end of the field than the top F1 vehicles. According to Russell, they won't receive any further consideration based on merit. To put it in perspective, the slowest vehicle on the grid is closer to us than Ferrari or Red Bull are to us. After Baku qualifying, the Mercedes manager was questioned about the discrepancy between his drivers. Austrian retorted, "Because the car is on a knife's edge, if you put a foot wrong in terms of experiments on the car, which need to be done for us to learn how to perform, where to put the car, there are 2 or 3 tenths immediately between them." The last 3 races, these experiments have gone wrong with Lewis and not with George. Hamilton's car is in a different specification again this weekend, said Wolff. Lewis had been trying some experimental parts of the car. There was a different floor solution on his car that didn't work. The car was porpoising more and bottoming out to a degree that it became dangerous and couldn't extract the performance. So yes, it was a different spec, he further added. While Lewis being the team's development driver seems like a good reason, probably because his wealth of knowledge will be the key to releasing the W13's car performance potential, but this is just plain false. The number 1 driver on the F1 team typically receives upgrades, also known as experimental parts initially. Inquire Mark Webber. Wolff's spin explanations give the impression that he is still patronizing Lewis Hamilton, probably because he thinks Hamilton is too sensitive to realize that he is substantially slower and performs far worse than his teammate. The fact is, his teammate has only ever had driving experience in the poorest car on the F1 grid. That's all for this video. We'll be back soon with more informative news. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you soon.